If you knew me when I was a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I'd like to say I'm sorry. This video is about what I focused on as a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I've learned many lessons from that time, but the biggest lesson I learned is you don't always have to try as hard as you can in every role, no matter what. Because when I was a blue belt, that's sort of what I focused on. We'll get into the techniques and the specifics later, but the overall mindset of what I was doing when I was a blue belt was just trying my hardest every single role. And while it may seem like a good idea to try your hardest, sometimes you need to step off the gas a little bit. Sometimes you just need to coast. Sometimes you even need to pump the brakes. And I mean this in terms of how hard we're applying techniques and how much energy we're expending. Because when I was a blue belt and someone didn't want to submit to, let's say, a straight ankle lock, for example, the mindset I used to have would be, well, this is kind of their problem. I'm just going to keep applying it until it either rips or they tap. And it's not to say I ripped a lot of people's tendons doing that, but ripped a few people's tendons. And now that I'm a purple belt, almost brown belt. I mean, I got 4 stripes in my purple belt, right? So I guess that means I'm almost a brown belt. I wouldn't do that. You know, I am aware of how far submissions can be applied. And if I'm rolling with somebody and I think they should tap and they're not tapping, I should have the control and the wherewithal to not only stop applying, but to verbally say, hey, are you good? Do you want to tap? Something like that, to let them know they're in danger. And if you keep applying, it could do them damage. When I was a blue belt, I didn't even have that wherewithal. You know, rolling with other blue belts, or especially white belts who are wrestlers and tough and all this. It's fun. It was fun. But I know for a fact I probably gave a couple people some sore joints. You know, probably a few other people maybe didn't want to come training the next day because they were a little bit too tired or beat up or wore out. And that's not to say that was necessarily my fault, because you can always tap, and they were having fun and they were trying to get me, and we were grappling and learning and all this stuff. Still, I feel like I was a little bit too aggressive and I tried a little bit too hard in all the roles when I was a blue belt. And technically what I focused on was getting the same technique again and again and again. It's been a while since I've done this, actually. I probably should start trying it some more. But the mounted triangle was a move that I focused on as a blue belt. And what I would do is I would spam that move. So I would get it again and again and again on the same person if I could. And that made me get much better at the move, and it kept me focused. And at that point, I already had a general awareness of what to do from every position. But what this allowed me to do is have a few tricks in my back pocket that if I needed to really apply a submission to put somebody to sleep or to break a joint, to get that tap. Because when you're a blue belt, pain doesn't matter as much anymore. When you're a blue belt, if they're cranking on your neck and it's uncomfortable and you're in a tournament, they ain't gonna tap. They won't. You have to be putting them to sleep for them to tap. Now, you might put them to sleep, chances are they're gonna tap. But when I was a blue belt, that really was what I was learning, is how far submissions can be applied. And valuable lessons were definitely learned. But technically, I was focused on doing a few specific submissions until I felt like I was good enough at it to move on to the next one. So mostly, it was the mounted triangle type attacks from on top, mixed in with a little bit of leg locks as plan B. But really, I didn't do that much more until I was a purple belt. Stay tuned for that.